take a look at this. All of our messages and important pieces of information can be found on our website. So if you miss, like when Roger was doing the 4-part series, if you missed number 2 of the 4 and you want to catch up on what you missed, just go to our website and you'll find all of our messages are on there, okay? But please notice it has to be spelled the English way, not the American way. Okay? Because if you spell neighborhood the American way, you're not going to find it. Okay, so let us start the message today. Today's message, misfits. God uses the most likely in the most unexpected ways. This is a favorite topic of mine. Sometimes when we're reading the Bible or we hear Bible stories, we hear about these great heroes, these wonderful guys, and we just think, oh, I could never, ever live up to that kind of thing. I am just little me. I am nothing special. Before I became a pastor, and I was finishing up my teaching career, I was looking towards the end of, coming towards retirement, and I was praying, I was meditating, trying to figure out what I was going to do in retirement. And I kept hearing, Pastor. And no, not me. You got the wrong guy, you must mean somebody else. This is a whole learning experience in itself. First of all, you do not tell God he's wrong and made a mistake. Okay? Good chance he's right and I'm wrong. But the thing is, I look at myself and I look at my background and I think, me? A pastor? There's no way in the world. So this kind of message really hits me in the heart. And I hope it does for you too, because a lot of us think, oh no, I'm nothing special. He doesn't want anybody special. He wants regular people. So let's take a look here at today's message. And God often uses unlikely people to accomplish his person. Am I? Are you willing to be one? So 1 Corinthians 1:27-29, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before him. He takes the small, he takes the weak, he takes the little to achieve his goals. To stop and think, who did he hang out with when he was on earth? Not the kings, not the princes, not the high priests. It was the lowly little people. So let's take a look at some of these special people. Whoa! A kid? He's going to use a kid? Kids are useless. Come on, what are they? Get out of here. Most people know the story of how Jesus fed 5,000 people who had come to be healed and to hear him teach. But this would not have been possible unless God had provided an insignificant child who had the food that Jesus needed to multiply and feed the multitude. Everybody is important. A little kid. He's nobody. He's not even an adult. A little kid with a basket with some bread and some fish. It wouldn't have happened. Feeding 5,000 people if it wasn't for this little kid sharing his lunch. So, and Jesus valued and used children to teach. In Matthew 19:13-15, then people brought little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. And Jesus said, let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. People that are going to get into heaven are the humble, the weak, and the innocent, just like kids. So he's using children as an example of how to get into heaven. Matthew 18:2-6, he called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom. The smallest is the greatest. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. I love that last line. You know how some people like to beat on little kids? Now you take a look at that last line. Okay? Jesus is not going to be happy when he meets up with somebody who likes to beat on little kids. Jesus' heart goes for the little, the weak, and the meek. Hey, how about a drunk that's a hero? Hey, an old booze hound. Hey, he's right after my heart here. Okay, good. Noah was a drunkard. Okay. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both of them and the earth. Earth has become a mess ever since, Adam and Eve. Whoa, guys, let's start all fresh again. The Lord then said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Okay, Noah, you're a good guy. So I'm going to build the new world based on a new guy. Good guy. God's chosen. Okay? Noah, a man of the soil, this is after the ark gets back. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk. And he lay uncovered in his tent. He got so wasted, he passed out without any clothes on. Most people, when they get really drunk, at least have their clothes still on and go on the couch or something. Not Noah, buck naked. And it specifically teaches us, now wine's not bad. Okay? Jesus drank wine. Wine is not bad, it's the overindulgence in anything. So do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. That's the problem. Noah, too much. Anything in excess is the problem. Even a righteous man can fall. Although Noah did not live a life without one slip, this does not change the fact that his character was outstanding. Nobody is perfect. God, now pay attention to the red. God does not require Absolute, literal perfection from day one, which is where we sometimes beat ourselves up. I'm a Christian, I have to be perfect. You start sitting there saying, I'm perfect. You just said that you're Jesus. Be careful what you're saying. We will inevitably sin. We're people. And are required only to confess and forsake our sins, accepting God's forgiveness and allowing Him to direct our hearts away from sin. So we're going to mess up, but there's the formula to get back on track. The only way to follow our calling to perfection is through growth and making mistakes. You grow. And there is no sin from which one cannot be forgiven, including drunkenness, if you sincerely repent. Not just asking for an opportunity to get smashed the next weekend, but if you sincerely repent and try again to live a good life that doesn't get into excess, He will forgive you. But He'll see through you if you're trying to pull a fast one on Him. Give thanks that this is all that's required, for Christ is the only human of whom it can be truly said, He was sinless. So even a drunk. Whoa! Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Saul, also known as Paul. So who was Saul? In his own words, I am a Jew, born in Tarsus of Cilicia, but brought up in this city. I studied under Gamaliel and was thoroughly trained in the law of our ancestors. Just a little explanation. This means he is a Pharisee, one of the holy guys. These are the ones who are really anal about the law. Roger was telling you how the 10 Commandments just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. It's because the Pharisees, they kept adding things so that you got this crazy number of commandments. So he was a Pharisee. One of the people, Jesus did not like the Pharisees. If you read the Bible, He was always taking them on because of their teachings and their attitudes. The whole thing about holier than thou. So right away, Saul is not Mr. Popularity with Jesus. Now, one of the first times we see Saul in action, they all rushed at Stephen, who was one of the apostles, dragged him out of the city and began to stone him. Stoning a person to death is not a pretty thing. Meanwhile, the witnesses laid their coats at the feet of a young man named Saul. Saul witnessed the killing of the first Christian martyr. And he just stood there and watched. Didn't see anything wrong with it. Simply watched. On that day, a great persecution broke out against the church in Jerusalem. And with that persecution, away goes Saul. But Saul began to destroy the church. Watch that. That is really important. This is the guy that consciously set out to destroy the early Christian church. This is not somebody you're going to think is going to have a role in the church. It's probably the last person you'd ever think of. Just like, pastor. Okay. Going from house to house, he dragged off both men and women and put them in prison. These prisons aren't like today. They don't got the color TV and the nice meals and everything else. You know, there wasn't even a bathroom. There was a little hole in the corner, this type of thing, rats, all kinds of horrible stuff. These prisons were not nice. Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. Murderous threats. He was out to destroy the church. Whatever he had to do, if it meant killing people, that's cool, kill them. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way is what they called Christianity back then, whether men or women, he didn't care. Lock the women up too, forget it. He might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. Give me a letter that allows me to do these nasty things to these Christians. Yeah, give me permission so I can really wreak havoc. This dude's just a little Looney Tunes. However, with this letter clutched in his hot little hands, storming off to Damascus so he could do all these dirty, nasty things, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" All right, now this is when Saul is probably having a little bit of a panic attack. "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I'm Jesus, whom you're persecuting," he replied. "Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." If Jesus was sort of like us, and be honest, Jesus is God and you got the power. You got Saul right here, the guy that's been destroying your believers. I myself would probably be tempted to blast him with a lightning bolt. Okay? You are a problem, brother? Now you're not a problem. But he doesn't do that. That's not the way Jesus works. Not only is it not the way he works, he goes and does something totally opposite of what we would probably think of. Go. This man, what? This man is the chosen instrument to proclaim my name to the Gentiles. You got this right? You got the right Saul, right? This is the nasty dude. What are you doing? To all the Gentiles. Like, this is the real challenge. It's not the Jews he wants to get them to convert. He's going after the Gentiles. And their kings and the people of Israel. Saul, you just go out there and you're going to get all the unreached. That's what Pastor Sam told me the first week I worked here. I asked Pastor Sam, what do you want me to do? First of all, Sam says to me, he says, reach all the unreached by the end of the week.
Yeah, right.
Don't ever ask Sam what he wants you to do. I will show how much he must suffer for my name. Okay. Actually, what we're going to do is we're running a little late because of communion, so we're going to carry on with this next week. There's about a dozen of these characters, and they're all sort of along the same line. We've got drunkards. We've got nasty murderers. We got little kids. We got a whole mess of what people would probably call losers. But the key thing is God can and will use anybody if we let him. You guys have a great week. God bless. Make sure you think about these messages and think how you can help the Lord extend his message. Love you. See you next week.